Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and we got another good one for you today. Today, we're actually connecting with someone who's been on the podcast before, Matt Rege. He was episode 62. If you remember his episode, he got shot at, nearly died. He's a stuntman, lives in California. He's a newer hunter, but he's really been crushing it. And so Matt reached out and said, hey, man, I had an amazing 24 season. I would love to connect with you and kind of give you some of these crazy stories that happened to him this past year. So I was happy to have him back on because he's a super interesting guy and he has some amazing stories. So Matt, thank you for reaching out. And, of course, for sharing your stories with us today. To you listeners, make sure you give Matt a follow. I got a bunch of stuff in the show notes as far as where to find him. Please do that. And, whatever you're listening to, give us a 5-star review and a follow. Now, let's go ahead and let Matt tell you some of his stories. Thank you. All right, Matt. Welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast again, brother. How are you doing?
Yeah, dude, it's actually welcome back. I was episode 62, and I'm doing great. How are you, man?
Yeah, dude, I'm doing real well. I'm glad to have you here. I mean, the people don't need to know this, but we had a little technical issues, and this is attempt 2 to get episode 2 of you being on here, man. So thank you for bearing with me and the technical issues. But for the people that haven't listened to your episode already, why don't you introduce yourself, man, just so they know who they're listening to today.
Yeah, well, if you haven't listened to episode 62, you probably should go back and listen to that one because I talk about getting shot at, but animal stories, hunting stories, obviously. So yeah, if you haven't heard that, but my name is Matt. You may recognize me. Sometimes I'll be in like the Mule Freak booth at the Hunt Expo. I've been doing some stuff with Clean Freak, and what else? I do like a lot of social media stuff outside the hunting world. So we're doing like some world record stuff coming up. So you may recognize me from that stuff. I also hosted the California section of the Full Draw Film Tour. So maybe you recognize me.
Cool.
If you didn't recognize me, I'm just Matt. I'm 38 years old. Been hunting since 2016. Been getting okay at it, I think.
I think you're crushing it, but
so I've been out there hammering. I just spend a lot more time than most people, and that's kind of all I do nowadays. So that's kind of what I'm about. And I got some crazy hunt stories today for you. We got some stuff from Arizona, my first time guiding this year. I know Michael knew a guy about some guiding stuff. And a couple other cool stories. I shot a big mule deer this year, so we're gonna get into all that stuff.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So you said hunting is all you do these days, and besides the social media and things like that. But hopefully you still are a stuntman. Is that the case, or where are we at with that, man?
Yeah, dude. So I kind of do like a couple little things. I have like a big video that planned that might be like a little illegal, but I mostly been doing like some pyrotechnics and some engineering. I just built some air cannons and stuff like that. So I'm still in the digital media world, preferably not wrecking my body as much. But if they offer enough money, I'm gonna do anything,
That's cool, man. That's cool. Well, Matt, man, I'm glad to have you back. We've been, shooting the shit back and forth on social media and, encouraging each other. And I'm glad that you reached back out saying, hey, I've got a great season worth of stories to tell you. So let's just kick it off, man. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, so I'm going to start off with one story I forgot to tell you last time was it's just a cool little story for like some new guys and stuff. But it starts out in Arizona. I was hunting a 2-point draw rifle tag. And it was a 9-day hunt, which usually Arizona is 9-day hunts. So I'm hunting out there and man, I am struggling. It's like November. It's too early because those deer don't even rut till like December, January. So it's super early. I'm hunting a new species, like they're the Sonoran mule deer. So they're, I'm learning that they're way out in these flatlands, just in these arroyos, like in these canyons. And I was struggling, man. I think I seen 150 does before I seen my first buck.
He probably wasn't a shooter either, was he?
No, he was just a little guy, and it was like day 4, and I was planned to stay there the whole time. I was solo hunting, so I was out there just grinding it away. So what happened was somebody ended up finding out where I was, and they had talked to a guy they know that guides there in that same unit.
Okay.
So the guide was like so nice. Like I can't remember what his company was or his name or such, but he was such a nice guy. He's like, hey, I have this buck and on camera back when they used to be able to run cameras.
Yeah.
Like, I have this buck on here. He's like, none of my clients could go get it. You're welcome to it if you want. And he sent me his exact bedding location.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, dude, yeah. Well, it was until I found out it was 9 miles in there.
Ooh. So does he said his guides, the people he's guiding, can't go get it? Is it because it's too far, or what?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you one story about his clients at the same time. But yeah, he just didn't have like that clientele to go like that deep in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe like didn't have guys to backpack in there or such, but he just kind of said, he's like, I ain't got the guys to go in there. You're welcome to this deer. And I was like, man, that's freaking super cool. Like,
yeah, that is super cool.
Thanks for the info, especially the free info, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up hunting a couple more days, kind of out closer to where his guys were hunting. And I had heard this guy shoot like 7 times. And it was just like continuous, right?
Yeah.
So it ended up being that one of the outfitter and one of his guides and their client. Well, that client had missed a big 3x3 6 times.
What?
And I think it was with his 7th shot, he shot the spike that was with him. So I guess what happened was that spike came out where the 3x3 was, and the client thought that was him.
He just saw brown and was seeing red.
Yeah, I think it was like his 7th shot. He ended up shooting a spike, which is legal in Arizona, but I guess the guide was like super upset. So
yeah,
it was just kind of funny. So maybe that's why the clientele wasn't experienced to go in there, But dude, it was brutal. Like I did that. I was looking for that deer for 4 days, and it was 18 miles a day because I didn't have no backpacking stuff.
Sheesh. I was wondering if there's like any way to like do you have a horse or nothing? Just walking in and out.
Dude,
that's a brutal day.
There was just like no cell service where I was, and I was just by myself. So I would hike in like at like 3-4 a.m. try to get to where the buck was. Like I couldn't. I did see like a lot of smaller bucks in there, and I was like, oh, it's a good spot. But it was like a big 180-inch 4x4. He just would not show up. Like,
yeah,
I could not find him.
That's how we got big, right?
Yeah, so that's not where the story ends. Like, I could not find this buck, but what I did end up finding is I come up over this crest towards that GPS pin, and there is a giant bighorn sheep there, just standing there, probably 40 yards. And I was like, wow. And I had enough time to get pictures of him with my cell phone. So I got pictures, and when I got the cell service, I sent it to the guide and was like, hey, did you know that? And I ended up seeing 10 other bachelor rams by themselves.
Huh.
So I seen them 10, and then the one by himself. So I ended up sending it back to the guy to go, hey, did you know there's a giant ram in here? And he had no clue. He had no idea that ram was in there.
Wow.
So I sent it back to him, and he had a client that had the bighorn sheep tag. So he ended up taking the client in there to where I, sent him the pin for that ram, and they ended up getting him, and he ended up scoring 182-inch.
That's awesome. So I don't know anything about ram scoring. I know I have one behind me, but it's not mine.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, like what is like average? What's like respectable? Do you have any idea or no?
So I was talking to the Epic Outdoor guys because they were doing like an article on that ram, and I was talking to them, and they were saying like anything over like 170 is big, but like 180 is like trophy, like class. And this ram was the biggest one I've ever seen.
Yeah, I saw one at it was a backcountry hunters and anglers event, and it was actually the biggest ram ever found in Colorado. It wasn't killed; they just found it on like a military base where no one can hunt, and it was like 218 or something like that, something ludicrous. And I was like, I've got a ram in my office. He doesn't look anything like this guy. Like it was crazy. But again, he just lived somewhere you can't hunt, and just lived until forever until he just fell asleep one day, didn't wake up. Hey hunters, have you ever had one of those stories, the ones that you didn't want to tell, the ones that end in failure? Yeah, I've been there. Actually, you know what? The culprit for me usually is bad optics, or worse, lack of using my optics at all. Picture this. I spot a trophy buck, or an antelope, or an elk, whatever it may be. My heart is racing, but the blurry view, or I just can't quite identify exactly what I'm looking at, it has me second guessing. Well, that's where Vortex Optics comes in. With crystal clear glass and rugged durability, Vortex gives you the confidence to take the shot. Don't let poor optics ruin your story. Make every moment count. Upgrade to Vortex and turn your hunting tales into triumphs. Visit vortexoptics.com today.
Yeah, I've seen some big ones, but I've never seen one that big. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a cool story that he gave me the free info, and then I kind of I kind of scouted for him, and
Yeah.
ended up finding that ram. And I think they said it was like top 5 ram in Arizona that year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
That's
like
super cool.
I think the state record's like a little bit below 190 maybe. So he was pretty
Okay.
big. Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a cool little story. So it's a good lesson to learn that just don't always hoard in the information. If you got a deer and you like aren't going to go hunt it, like maybe it may pay off to where you let somebody else hunt it, because they may find
Yeah.
something you don't know.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I'll say this as well, man. Like, if someone gives you information, respect the information that they're giving you and respect that person. Don't just blow that spot up and send that spot to all your friends. I know that my moose this year, I was asking people, and people were more than willing to drop pins for me and send information. And I'm keeping all that to myself. But one buddy dropped a pin. He's like, I saw a moose here like 3 years ago. Go check it out. And we're walking in, and like, there was a moose that couldn't have been sitting more than 5 feet from exactly where that pin was. Just bedded. We ended up busting her out. And so we thought the evening hunt was done. But later, my buddies went up a little bit higher and texted me because we had satellite texting. And I ended up killing my moose about probably 400 yards from that exact pin, just up in the next draw, which is awesome. Tons of meat. But yeah, just, don't hoard the information. Just make sure you're giving it to someone respectable. And if you're getting it, take care of that information and take care of the person that gave it to you, right?
Yeah, I'm not super weird like about people knowing where I hunt. Like I'm like, this is the zone I hunt in California, right? Because that's where I'm from. And then if people go there, I'm like, good luck, because I spent 8 years, and it's like
Yeah.
they harvest about 40 deer there a year. So like, good luck. But also, if I tell you that information, yeah, it goes nowhere else. Like it's between me and you.
Yeah. That's really important. That's really important. But that's cool that you're willing to share. I know some guys that, you ask them what state they did something in, and they, I think Sam Soholt said, the state of happiness. That's where I did it. And I'm like, that's a good answer. but yeah, everybody's a little bit different. So just be respectful of whoever's giving you the information.
Yeah, I definitely will definitely shy away from most people, but if I see you're out putting the work and you need a little help, like I'll kind of tell you what I know, or send me your spot and be like, hey, have you ever hunted this? And I'd be like, yeah, but give a little to get a little also too,
For sure, man, for sure. Well, that's a cool story, especially because they got that giant ram. But what happened to you this year, man?
So this year started out in January, so I ended up shooting a buck.
January 24. I'm going to assume now that we're in 25.
Yeah, January 24. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't. It's been, but I ended up shooting a deer in Arizona, December 28th, and he was rutting, which isn't happening this year yet that I've seen. So with that one, it's not too exciting. I ended up picked a new spot on the map. I ended up drawing a javelina tag because somebody told me like, hey, like apply here for javelinas. So I was like, oh, if I'm gonna hunt there, I'm gonna hunt the over-the-counter archery tag there also because it's still open. So the way Arizona works is once so many deer are harvested, then they close it. So it was still open. So I ended up spotting this buck the weekend before, tried to move in on him. And man, when you get in this Arizona desert, it all just blends in.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So I had a buddy with me at that time, and I got close, and I guess that buck was just kind of circling me, and I could not see him behind anything. So I ended up going back the next weekend and found the same buck in the same exact location, and he was rutting this one doe this time. The previous weekend, he was with like 10 does.
Okay.
So this time, it's just him and her, right? So I literally, I ranged him. He was like 850 maybe. And then I went 850 on my Onyx, marked that out to where I thought he was going to be, and kind of had that general vicinity of where he was. And in Arizona, in these type of deer, and when they're in the flats, you have to count like no joke, cactuses, potentially Joshua trees, Palo Verdes. So I sneak into him, and I'm by myself. So I'm looking back at the mountain. I'm ranging the mountaintop I was on, trying to judge my location to where, that 850 yards was. So I'm sneaking up, and once you're down there, everything looks the same. So I'm getting to these Palo Verdes. I'm like, man, like I am just not looking like I know where I'm at. I just kind of know. So finally I get to this one Palo Verde. I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, this is the last one to where he's going to be bedded right behind this. So I range back to the hill. I'm like, 750 or whatever. So I'm like, perfect.
Okay.
So I slowly start creeping up to him, and all of a sudden I could just see him just standing there, but I could see the doe out of my peripheral. They're bedded probably 80 yards away from each other. So I kind of see her like kind of stomping her feet, and I see him just quartered away staring at her. So I had time. Like, he wasn't even looking at me. I ranged him at 90. I dialed my pen to 90, and I stepped out from that Palo Verde and just shot him. Perfect pass through at 90, and he ran 45 yards and died.
That's awesome. Man,
yeah.
I've never shot. I've shot at things at 90 yards, antelope, at like a few days of spot and stock where I was just like exhausted and so tired of trying, and one standing at 90. I'm like, why the hell not?
Yeah.
Never connected on anything, but man, that's a hell of a shot.
Yeah, I want to do it all the time, but there was like perfect. Like, he was quartered away. My favorite shot is a quartered away deer.
Yeah.
He was kind of elevated because there was kind of a drainage. He didn't know I was there. So it was like perfect, right? I ended up actually, to go back, I shot one a couple weeks before that at 30 yards and kind of hit him like in the shoulder, and he survived. I have him on camera still survived. So that 90-yard shot was more lethal than my 30-yard shot. Just depends on that placement, you know. So
for sure, man.
Take a 90-yard shot, but the circumstances were just dialed, you know.
Yeah, man. When I shot that at that antelope at 90 yards, it was like 93 yards. I dialed, and I'm like, well, he's just standing there. Like, why not? And he was broadside, so I let it rip, and that arrow missed high by maybe 1 inch.
Oh shoot! Yeah, you're
like just like I wouldn't be surprised if my fletching smacked him on the ass or smacked him on the spine. And I didn't account for probably like the 10-mile-an-hour wind directly behind me. So 90 yards of wind going straight at it. Like, he was winding me, he was staring at me, and he just let me shoot, and he just let that arrow land past him. But yeah, there's just a lot of variables that you got to think about when you're doing that kind of stuff. But if you're comfortable with it, man, that's awesome.
Well, I shoot normally like 140 yards at
shit. Oh, damn.
Yeah, the Wind Center at the East End, and down here in San Diego will let me shoot 140 yards.
Okay.
I'm pretty like lethal at, like, I can hit a paper plate at 140, so I'm
no way. Okay.
So 90 is like most people's 50 or 60, but this year I haven't been practicing as much, so 90 is not on the table this year. Like 60 max probably this year, but just
gotcha. The farthest I've ever shot is, I think, 123 yards. It was at a TAC event in San Antonio. It was at a moose in a field. Oh, yeah. And I think my dial went to like 100, maybe 110. And I was like, well, I got to go another 13 yards. I don't even know what to do. So I dropped it, my bottom pin, to the 110 or whatever number I had. And then I just aimed. I was like, I don't want to blow my arrow up. So I'm going to aim for its leg. And then I'm going to go straight up from its leg up to its top of its antler. And I let go right there. And I hit it in the hoof. But that's the only time I've ever done it. But I was like, I just want to hit foam, and foam wins, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, foam is 5 points. So like,
yeah, exactly.
But in like a competition sense, yeah. So it's super far. So that was kind of last story. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, what else I was going to say? But yeah, practice super long range, and you'll become deadly. The farthest I've shot is 380 yards.
What?
And then we just did a video not too long ago. We shot 220, and I hit the 10 ring with my 6th arrow at 220 yards.
That is insane. I don't even think my arrows can go that far.
Yeah.
What grain are your arrows?
I'm not that technical guy. I think maybe they total weight is like maybe 480, I think.
Are you ready to elevate your archery game? Summit Bowstrings delivers premium strings for all archers, crafted with bloodline fiber and BCY material stretched for unmatched consistency. Choose from 3 series: Hunter, Competition, and Summit. Each string is built bison tough with unique techniques for extreme durability and performance. Ideal for both seasoned hunters and target archers. Experienced strings designed to handle any challenge. Visit summitbowstrings.com and use HSP10 for a 10% discount. Okay. And do you have like a custom dial or something, or are you just sort of eyeballing it, being like, I think, I've got it rolled down to 110, and I'm just going to throw it up into the air this high and see if I can hit, and just throw enough arrows until you get it?
So it's super fun. So anybody should try this, right? So you could get if you're worried about losing your arrows on Amazon, you could get arrows for like $2, which are actually like a decent arrow.
Yeah.
You know, they're just from China without the brand names on them for like $2.
Yeah.
So what we do is we always set up to where there's a mountain range behind us, so we could put our sight and like pick rocks.
Oh, that's smart. I was thinking looking into the sky and just guessing, but that's smart to have a mountain behind it. Okay.
Chris B just did a long range video where he had this post sticking out from like a redneck blind.
Mm-hmm.
So he would put his sight on the post and keep his feet in the same spot. So the post was like where he would put his pin. And I was like, oh, that was pretty smart. So I might try that.
That is smart. Yeah. Huh. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I got to try that. I don't even know if I know a place that I could shoot that far other than just like running into the woods somewhere, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's fun to try. But yeah, and then so January we ended up jumping back down there into javelinas, just to try to fill that tag because javelina runs January 1st through the 30th for the archery season. So man, like I tell anybody that's my new favorite sport is javelina hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember on episode 62, I was telling you that they were charging me. Well, now I've learned that they're just blind. Like they're just blind. So
yeah,
you get into a herd of them, you could sneak in pretty close. Like once you get into 100, if the wind's good, you could sneak in so close, right?
Yeah.
So I
ended up,
like I was hunting deer and javelina at the same time. I think it was like the first week of January, like the next week after I shot my deer, and I see this nice buck. And I got my new archery tag, so I'm like, I'm going to stalk this buck, you know? And he's rutting so hard. So I ended up stalking him, and he was like 70, and I missed that shot because he was pushing does so hard.
Yeah.
I ended up setting my beanie down, right? Just like so I could get, I don't know why. So I shot at him. He kind of kept rutting. He started pushing bucks more closer to me after I shot, and I was almost going to get another shot. Didn't happen. So I ended up trying to find my beanie, dude, because like you set something down.
Yeah.
And then you're like, where did I put it? Because you're just in the mode.
Yep. I've taken my boots off and had that same, oh shit moment. Yeah. Like where, and even on like an open hillside, no bushes. And I'm like, why can't I find my damn boots? They should be right here.
Yeah, I do that with a cat all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm searching for my beanie after these bucks push off, and all of a sudden all these javelinas jump up, like right where I just was, probably 5 yards from me. They just were like hunkered down. So I ended up, one goes and stops, and I'm like, I don't know, 50, and I draw back and shoot right over its back. These things they're tiny, like they're super small. So I ended up shooting at 5 more javelinas throughout that day and the next day, right?
Yeah.
And I just cannot hit these things. And even one was just walking down this trail and I ranged at 60, still missed. I'm like, what the heck is happening? Like I thought maybe my bow was off. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was me, you know?
Yeah. Hey, you have bad days. Everybody has bad days.
So I ended up I'm still kind of looking for these javelinas, and one is just walking on this hillside. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna get in front of him. So I ended up, he's working this way, I'm working this way. I see there's a big drainage. I'm like, he's not gonna cross that. He's gonna run that rim towards me. So he ends up working the 30 yards, and I ended up passing through an arrow because they're thin. Their hair is so thin. Like I've never seen someone with such thin hair or skin.
Really?
Yeah,
I've actually never hunted javelina. I'd love to.
Dude, you have to do it. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Do you eat? I've heard some people eat them. What do you think? Have you tried them?
Dude, I had it. It just tastes like pulled pork. Like I don't.
Okay.
People are, but you also think people say deer is and elk is bad because it's gamey, but it's all how it's prepared and.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Care of, like most people have their grandpa's deer that he just threw in the back of his truck and it just sat there for a couple of days. You know, that's good.
Yeah.
I made like pulled pork sandwiches with it, and it tasted just like kind of a pork flavor. I don't know.
Huh. Yeah, I'll try it. I have no problem trying it. I just haven't had the opportunity to go hunt it. I've heard the same thing. It's all about how you take care of your meat with like antelope, aoudad. I don't know if you've hunted aoudad much, but they're like goats, and I've eaten aoudad. It's delicious, but a lot of people say it's disgusting, and I think it's because it's shot when it's 100 degrees out and they don't take care of the meat. Yeah,
I always think like I see who's like I kind of judge people like saying I'm like, well, how much do you hunt? You know, like how much do you know how to like process your meat? You leave it in an ice chest for a week, you know? So, but no, it's really good. I recommend anybody hunts javelina. It is the funnest thing ever. It's action packed. If you have like a new hunter, like a new archery hunter, or like maybe your girlfriend wants to go hunt, that's a good one to get her in.
Okay.
It's real action packed, but you could spot these things from anywhere. They're always kind of moving, and it's interesting.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I'll have to check it out sometime. I don't even know where I would go for that. I guess Arizona, New Mexico. I hear they're in Texas, but it's hard to tell the difference between a hog and a javelina to the untrained eye. I think it's just like that white thing that's on their back that like, I don't know if it's fur or what it is, but
yeah, the little little weird hairs. But no, I tell anybody to hunt the javelina tag in January because you can hunt deer at the same time.
Okay. Is that for non-resident as well?
Yeah, over the counter. It's they do a 2,900 quota roughly, and first come first serve. So if you buy that, and then you get the javelina tag, then you can hunt 2 animals at the same time. So you that wants to come in for 10 days, you got a couple animals to pick from.
That's cool. All right, man. I'm gonna keep that in mind.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna jump into August. We went like high country Arizona deer hunting, and the story's not too spectacular because I shot my first tree.
Hey,
so
there you go.
I connected with a tree, and we were just kind of still hunting down through these flats because I had some big bucks spotted up in the higher country, and they just weren't up there at this time, So ended up dropping down the flats and started seeing more bucks. So I was just kind of still hunting through this, roll-in type pine trees, and I ended up looking around a corner, and I see this buck's bedded there at 90 yards. I could just see his antlers kind of shaking, like he's trying to lick some flies off him or something.
Yeah.
And so I sneak in 50, and he ends up knowing I was there. So he stood up and he walked, and I was waiting for him to take one more step, and I was at full draw for, I don't know, 40 seconds. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot,
Yeah. And 40 seconds at full draw feels like 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I ended up, he needed to take one more step, and I was dialed. So he wasn't taking it. I was getting tired. So he knew I was there. So I kind of took a step left, and I tried to squeeze it through some trees. And I didn't squeeze through the trees. I shot the tree. And I have it marked in my GPS. I might go cut it down and make it firewood.
There you go.
Because
teach it a lesson for getting in the way.
It's my first tree, so I need to save it for something, at least get warm,
Yeah.
But on that hunt, I ended up finding the coolest bear I've ever seen. It was probably like the state record bear. He was
no way.
Giant bear, black head, albino body. It was like white.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
A black head?
Black head, white body. It was insane. Like
that's cool. Did you get a picture of him?
No, he was 900 yards away, but no picture. But he was moving on this hillside just looking for food. It was like the last 30 minutes of daylight.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So I jumped back over there with a bear tag later that season. No luck finding him. No sign, nothing where he was. So I don't know if he just got pushed in there. I did record that 5-minute elk fight that's going viral. So I ended up selling that to Viral Hog. So it's probably going to be on like all kinds of platforms, that video. So it's cool that I didn't see the bear, but at least I got that elk fighting video. So there's always going to be something good that happens in elk woods,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
But, it may be, you may have to shoot a tree once in a while, but.
Yeah, that's right. Did you see I have a viral video. It's got like 1.5 million views.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's stupid. It's like, so it was my very first, it was last season. So 2 Septembers ago, elk hunting. Yeah. And there's a small herd, like 4 cows and like a raghorn. But I'm like, whatever. I just want to go get a rep, like get a stock in. And if I get close, I'll decide whether or not I'm going to shoot that raghorn.
Sure.
And I'm going in, I'm hiking in just straight across this like marshy swamp stuff. But it's high enough that I can kind of hide. And I'm like, I see 3 cows and the bull. I'm just going to assume that 4th cow's over there. The video is my buddies being like, realizing the cow's maybe 30 yards to my left and just staring at me. And they're like, no, nobody, no, Michael Turner. And it's just like the cow busting and running off and just me looking like an idiot. But yeah, it's got like 1.5 million. It ended up, it was a really cool situation because it ran off and apparently I split it from its calf. Oh. And so it split off this way. Eventually I went a little bit farther. A moose came in and then spooked the little group that I was dealing with. Yeah. And it had a calf moose. And then there was another herd of elk at the top of the valley because it was like a mile-long valley. And so it was like 10 more elk up there. And I'm sitting here in the middle of probably these 4 or 5 elk. They don't know that I'm there except for the one, and they're just barking. Oh. So I'm like 50 yards in every direction from these elk. Can't really move, bunch of cows, and I don't have a cow tag. I can only shoot a bull. It's just barking all over the place for like 5 minutes. I was like, this is pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, the moose spooked the bull from me. So,
dang it.
Didn't make it happen, but that's the story of my my viral video.
Yes.
Not nearly as cool as your epic bullfight. Mine's just me being an idiot. Imagine this. You're deep in the wilderness. The sun is rising, casting golden light over rugged terrain. Your heart races as you navigate through the backcountry, knowing the perfect shot could come at any moment. This is where memories are made and stories are born. Ultralight rifles are often seen as Mountain West guns, but the Ridgeline FFT from Christensen Arms breaks that mold. This stellar, lightweight rifle is your perfect companion, whether you're in the backcountry or box blind, ensuring you never have to switch between your builds. With its aero-grade carbon fiber barrel and stock, the Ridgeline FFT is incredibly lightweight, yet powerful. Thanks to its innovative side baffle brake, it reduces recoil even on a 5-pound gun shooting magnum calibers. It's like black magic. As a sub-MOA tack driver made in America, the Ridgeline FFT is for those who seek the thrill of the hunt and the joy of storytelling. Picture yourself returning to camp, Ridgeline FFT in hand, ready to share the day's adventures. Head to your local shop, pick one up. You've got to feel this rifle to believe it. Let the Ridgeline FFT be part of your hunting stories and the legacy you pass down.
No, but dude, sell it to one of the video stores. You make some money off that thing.
I don't know anything about that. We'll connect afterwards.
Yeah, I tell everybody to post them, even like camera photos. But yeah, so I'm gonna jump into the story. That's kind of that one. It's gonna kind of go into this next story here in a couple stories about the bear.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's my first year guiding. The story starts at the Hunt Expo, and I was going to the Hunt Expo with Muley Freak, and I'd mentioned to my mom. My mom knows I'm kind of a nomad. She's like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go to Salt Lake and help out Muley Freak in their booth." And she's like, my mom's real like, "Oh, are they paying you?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really care. Like, I'm going no matter what because I know I'm going to meet somebody there that's going to make me 10 grand. That's my motto. Is anywhere I go, somebody I might meet will make me 10 grand. It's good.
That's a good motto. Yeah.
So I go there, right? I'm not thinking of anything. I help the guys get through their booths and stuff. And they did offer me like a huge wad of cash, and I just like turned it down. I was like, "Well, thanks for the opportunity to let me display my personality." Like I love talking to people, and one day it's gonna come back to me. I let them keep the cash, because they're gonna remember me for kind of turning down the cash. Like this year I'm taking the cash, right? So
yeah.
Now I'm up for bid. So I'm gonna be in a booth this year. I just don't know which booth I'm going to be in yet. So whoever probably the highest bidder is, I'll be there.
That's coming up again in February here, right? So in about a month or so?
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. So I'll be there for 4 days on that. But I ended up having this girl and her boyfriend come by the booth, and she was a photographer. So I told her, I was like, "Hey, man, like I love what you're doing." She's trying to be an outdoor photographer. I said, "Come by the booth secretly. Don't tell anybody. Just take some candid photos of all the guys, and I'll give you some cash, So she ended up doing that, gave me all the pictures and stuff. And I was like, awesome, so some of the pictures were good, some weren't, but I gave her I think maybe like $100.
Yeah.
Just gave her the opportunity. I was like, if you want to be outdoor, here's your shot to take some photos and post them, So come what was it? I stayed in touch with her a little bit. Ended up being August. She texts me and she goes, "Hey, I see what you're doing on Instagram. Do you want to become a guide?" And I was like, "Sure, I could kill some mule deer, I will guide.
Yeah.
Some mule deer." So she goes, "Okay." And by the time she got off the phone, the outfitter was calling me, and it was just like a friend of a friend thing. They were looking for somebody, and and I was just hunting full time pretty much. So they offered it to me. So the guy calls me, and he's just running down like, "You good at this?" Like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Dude, I could kill some mule deer. I could do this. Here's kind of what I do, And he's like, "Cool." He goes, "You know how to bugle?" And I go, "Yeah." I just lied. That's the only lie I told the guy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever you need.
This whole time it was mule deer because I'm like the mule deer guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Yeah, I know how to bugle." I think I was on speakerphone, or on Phelps, I need this too. And I was going in 3 weeks.
Oh, no shit. That's not too much time to learn.
So in that podcast, we were talking about a couple of times, how do you become a guide? And I tell people, I'm like, Instagram is like your portfolio and your personality is your resume, right? So
Yeah.
just be super personable and stuff. So yeah, I ended up finding out that I'm guiding some elk hunts.
Hell yeah.
I never fucking elk hunted in my life, bro.
That's awesome.
Elk hunting. So I was, elk 101, just watching all these videos, and I was bugling all the way to Arizona, just, learning how all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they gave me this opportunity, and I found out that they were kind of just hiring me to be like some of their friends, like safety guy, right?
Okay.
Like it was more of just a hangout. Like one of the guys was 85. He's like furniture dealer in Nashville. He just wanted to go.
Yeah. Just wanted to be in the woods, hear a bugle here or there.
He's been bow hunting for 15 years. He's had one opportunity in that time.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, this is going to be a hangout. So I treated it like that. Like, we're going to be buddies. We're going to, laugh, joke, and stuff. And I'm going to try to get you on a bull.
There you go.
So I go out there, and I had 3 days to scout this area. And I ended up finding probably 400 elk and like 20 something bulls in the first 3 days. So I'm like, oh. And, let me tell you, when you rip your first bugle in the wilderness, you're like, I hope nobody hears this. So I ripped my first bugle, just like a location bugle, and an elk responds, dude. And I was like, oh, I got this. Like,
yeah, so easy. Just so easy.
So easy. So I ended up playing around for 3 days. I ended up seeing a bunch of animals, a bunch of elk, got a bunch of spots. My favorite spot I found with the biggest bulls, my client couldn't get to it.
Oh no.
He super nice guy. Just he was just getting over COVID. He has 2 knee replacements that he got done last month. So I kind of was just wanting to hit this one spot. And it's always on my mind. And I was like, please let me hit this one spot. So I guided him for 5 days. I ended up calling in this like 5-point raghorn bull from like 900 yards for like an hour. He was just coming and coming and coming. So I ended up I had him set up on this other bull that was kind of coming on our back door.
Okay.
And then this bull pops out, and my client sees it, but he's like 75 yards, which he has like a kind of an old school bow, and he's only good for like 40 yards.
Okay. That's reasonable.
That bull couldn't come in, right?
Yeah. And he's probably not pulling back 80 pounds either. He's probably got like a 50-pound draw or something.
Yeah, it was very minimal. So that bull is sitting there barking at us. Like, I'm trying to get him to come in. I knew he wasn't going to come in because we were just like too high. He wasn't going to come up that hill. But my client got to see that bull for about 5 minutes, just standing there at 75 yards, just, circling. I would stop him, and he'd bark at us, and he would kind of move on. And my client hasn't had that happen but once in 15 years. So he was he was like so happy, he wanted to cry. He was like, that's all I wanted.
That's a win. That's a win.
Yeah, he's like, all I wanted was like some kind of interaction like that. So we ended up we got on some other bugles, just couldn't really make it happen. So with him, but he was like super grateful. I was happy that I was able to provide whatever I was, a great experience kind of thing.
That's super cool, man. Especially like going out a little bit out of your comfort zone and getting out there elk hunting when you're a mule deer guy, and just being like, yeah, let's do it. And then getting out there and actually making it happen. And like, this old man, like, he's going to remember that forever. He's going to tell his kids about it. He's going to tell his grandkids about it. Like you are a part of his like core memory.
Yeah, that's what I was like super happy about, and I was like, I will like always take an opportunity. If somebody offers me opportunity now, like, I'm always going to take it because it just like panned out. Was I nervous going in? Heck yeah, dude. The first night I got to the lodge, they were having a party. Like at the lodge with all like, there's people that just go use it as like a hotel.
Okay.
So nervous, I just went to my bedroom and just like chilled. It just was like, I was so like just overwhelmed with. I just chilled, and like people were texting me like, "Hey, dinner's done." And I was like, I just can't do that right now. Like, I got too much going on,
Yeah, man, you got to jump on those opportunities when they come up. I'm thinking of like my trip to Molokai this year in Hawaii. Like, I got invited, and I'm like, man, I'm going with like 5 stone cold killers on this hunt, and like, I'm just an average hunter here. Like, I don't think I've even killed one thing with my bow ever. Should I even do this? And I was like, whatever, let's go, let's have some fun. Totally normal guys. Some of them absolute killers. Some of them just as green as I am, and we had a great time. And man, I would never trade that trip for anything. So you just gotta say yes, man.
Yeah, just say like yes to opportunities, you know, if it's in your
Yep.
budget or whatever, like that just worked out perfectly. I was just doing social media stuff and, you know, doing TikToks, not the dancing, but other TikToks.
Sure, whatever. You're
Nope.
dancing.
Dancing. We're actually about to do the world record soda Mentos challenge.
No shit.
Yeah, like the reaction.
Okay. What is the, or are you even allowed to speak about it? Well, what is the
Yeah.
world record? Like, what are the numbers associated to the world record attempt?
The thing is, there's not really a world record, so we're kind of setting it, but we have
Okay.
like, I think it's 80 something gallons of Diet Coke.
Damn.
But not Mentos. We're using the Mentos chemical.
Okay.
So it's not like actually the little Mentos. It's the chemical that does it.
Yeah, the reaction chemical. Okay, cool. You putting it in like a pool, or what are you putting that in?
Now we have a huge like aquarium cylinder.
Okay.
We had a guy design like a funnel for the top to shoot it out like a geyser, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the deal we're working on next. But so luckily I had the time to take off and go to Montana. By the way, I was in Montana. So I ended up was supposed to get this other client, but he ended up hurting his hip with another guide like a couple days before, and his hip was bothering him real bad.
Okay.
So he kind of took some days off. And during the time at the lodge, they do some solo hunter stuff, so you could go there, just utilize the professional chef, the bedrooms,
Yeah,
and the lodging, and go hunt by yourself.
Yeah.
So he was actually friends of the owners of the outfitter, and they were like, "Well, he has a hurt hip. Matt wants to hike. You like to hike. Do you want to go out with Matt?" They're like, we won't charge you extra, but you could go out with him as a guide, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, awesome. I get to go to that spot.
Yeah.
So we jump up there. It's like 4 a.m. We start hiking, and it's like 3 miles to get into where I actually want to go, you know?
How much elevation?
2,200 gain.
Okay, that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, it used to be like an old road, so there's kind of a trail cut in, so it wasn't
Got it.
too much. We did end up in some blowdown on accident the first time we went in there.
Okay.
That sucked, but yeah.
It always does.
Yeah. So we get to this spot, and I had seen some bulls there when I was scouting. I could glass them up there, so we ended up like right on top of them. And I look out into the flats probably 2 miles away, and I seen 3 like 380-inch bulls just walking across the flats. They're miles away.
Yeah.
But this is the first time the sun was coming up at the spot. I'm like, oh, there's 3 big bulls and like 20 cows. I'm like, this is kind of paying off. Like, we're able to see what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
So I ended up ripping a locator bugle, and one responds back probably 150 yards from us, just right where we're going. And I was like, yes. I'm like, let's go. So we try to jump behind this bull, and he's bugling by himself. So we're kind of like trying to cut in between him and like get behind him, you know? And he ends up moving down, so we kind of set up. I tried to pull him to us, and he ended up being farther than I thought. So we set up again. I tried to pull him in, and he just kept moving off. And I was like, God, he's just still moving, you know? So finally, we dive in there deep, and we get probably 100 yards from him.
Okay.
And I bugle. And there's 5 bugles back.
No shit.
And it just starts this frenzy for like 7 or 8 minutes. And I think what happened was we had 5 or 6 bulls screaming at us for like at 100 yards. What the big bull, I ended up seeing him like kind of break off, and he was like moving to my left. And I had my client set up like 50 yards ahead of me at this little knob where these elk were going to come over. This bull ends up circling me, and it took him a long time to get to me. But he ended up about 5 yards from me, just staring at me. And I could see him. He's quiet. I could see him staring at me, and I'm still bugling at these ones to try to get them to come by my client, because there's the most of them are over there. So this bull like sees me and kind of like stutter steps and just walks back to the pack and starts bugling with them again.
What?
Yeah. I just see him walk right back to the herd and just starts bugling at us again. So these 5 or 6 bulls are just screaming at us for like 7 or 8 minutes, and I cannot get one to come in, like to commit.
Yeah, other than the one that came 5 yards from you.
Yeah, so that one, he kind of backdoored us on the wind, like trying to get the wind right. So I was like, he's the more mature bull, I would assume, he tried to backdoor us. So anyways, I'm like challenging these bulls, and the guy that I'm hunting with has been hunting elk for 15 years, and he's been pretty successful with it. A bull ends up coming walking over this 6 point, 6x6, comes walking over, and he puts one center of his chest at like probably 30 yards.
Oh yeah,
But
jeez.
it was too high.
Oh no.
So I seen the bull come over, and I seen like kind of where like the angle of, I'm like, oh, he frontaled him, which I would too, but I'm putting it like lower,
Yeah, got to get it below that sternum, that
Yeah.
hard part right in the center.
So, dude, the most blood ever, right? We're tracking this. We give him like some time, and there's actually fresh snow on the ground, so we can see blood everywhere. We tracked this bull for 4 miles.
No shit.
Anytime he would go down, there'd be blood, but when he would go up, there was no blood. So we ended up tracking him for 4 miles. And I'm pretty sure he was bugling at us because every time we were tracking him, there was always a bull ahead of us bugling by itself.
Huh.
And I was pretty sure it was him because anytime we were on his tracks, 100 yards ahead, there was a bugle, and we were in like some dense pines.
Yeah. Did it sound like gurgly at all, or was it just totally normal bugle?
No, I ended up chalking it up to he was healthy because the blood ended up running out, and he walked for 4 miles.
Yeah.
He didn't bed once. There was no pools. There was just like a constant drip of blood by the time we got to 4 miles.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Tough animals, man.
Yeah. So we ended up gritting for the rest of the day because the snow ended up melting, and we were gritting for the rest of the day, and I chalked it up to he survived because there was no way he was going that far, and just kept walking. Like, didn't stop once, like just cruised.
Yeah. Did you see the penetration on the arrow? Like, did it get too deep, or did it stop like just right away with that?
I'm assuming it was like shoulder. Because we never found the arrow. We never found the arrow. So yeah, I don't know what happened, but when we were tracking him though, I seen there was this 380 bull standing like 40 yards from me. I'm like, oh man, he never even joined that group. Like, he just walked right past this group.
Yeah, he was the king.
Yeah, so he just cruised past this group of does, and this 380 bull just kept going, man. We tracked him, couldn't find him. So
is this unit one that takes a bunch of points, or is this one that's like a general unit?
It's like 2 points, man.
Okay, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it was like general season, and I'm finding like all these bulls, and I'm like, man, Montana is awesome,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah, so we ended up next day we went back and we gridded the whole area, and then there was still like a little bit of snow in there, and then there was grizzly tracks.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was a little butt puckering, but I noticed a lot of people live in fear of like the grizzlies, and I was aware of the grizzlies, but I don't really live in fear of everything.
Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't see one because I probably would have been like, oh crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was fresh grizzly tracks kind of over by where that elk was. So we gridded forever. We just could never find the elk. So we're pretty sure he survived, and then all the guides in the rifle season never found a dead elk either.
Huh.
Yeah. Well. So we talked to the outfitter, and she kind of, told us, she's like, yeah, he's alive. I'm like, that's what I'm pretty sure too, because the blood wasn't like great blood. It wasn't lung blood, it wasn't pumping out anything like that. So
the shot that he took, did this like the bull came in and he just took the first shot he had? Or was it like one opportunity between some trees? If he turned, he's behind logs, or what was the circumstance?
Yeah, so he kind of told me, he was like, yeah, that bull came in and kind of, I was like, did he see you? He's like, no. And I was like, so it kind of came in at him, I guess, like kind of straight on, I guess. So my typical thing, what I probably would have did is, kind of waited for him to pass me to get to me,
Yeah.
The way he went was kind of a weird direction from where, they were calling from. So he kind of circled up and then came down, which was very weird,
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what the heck? But also, I did great, I did.
Yeah, you crushed it.
Yeah,
you got him on a bull. You got him a shot. That's all you can ask for as a guide.
Yeah, so we, we ended up just search for him the whole next day. We just gridded like all this stuff, and just no luck. So sadly, they decided that they wanted to go hunt another one. They decided that he was going to live, and I agree with them. I was like, he's definitely going to live,
Yeah. Just
from what I seen. So we jumped back out there, and we looked for him that second day, and then we went back to the same spot. And we were still looking for him, but he had a bow in his hand this time, and
Yeah.
because there was a 380 bull up there. And I'm like, if that 380 bull shows up, we probably should shoot him, right?
Yeah. Or you find the one that's already injured. Have your bow with you, right? You put another arrow in him.
Yeah. So we ended up looking like all day that day too, just no luck because we were going to be happy just to, have the antlers. Meat would probably be compromised at that point.
Yeah. Bared up a little bit.
Yeah. So we ended up kind of hunting a different direction out in this other spot I was looking at. So it was 4 miles back to the UTV. And we go to this other spot. I'm like, let's go try this other spot. I feel like it's a canyon, like nobody's going to really go over there. So we go over that way, and what happens? We end up we're exhausted, right? We're doing I think it was like 14-mile days we're doing to get to the top and like zigzagging and, the emotional stuff of, not seeing him and
yeah,
kind of thing. And my client's like all night, he would like text me like, I feel like the shot was good. And I was like, I think it was just like too high, or like off to, because to me, it looked like it was in the shoulder, right?
Yeah, it could hit that shoulder blade, just sort of peeled away from all vitals, just meat. And they can, pretty much any meat injury, they're going to survive.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Wow.
So all night, I was super happy that he was like so butthurt, like not butthurt, but so like emotional about it.
Yes.
Like, to make a shot. So I was like, we'll crump it up. So we're exhausted. We're heading back to the UTV that, 2 days later. And I get to this one basin and we're calling, but the wind is just too, I'm like, I can't hear if anything's down there. So we circle around to where I could actually get out of the wind and like call down there. I call and bull beagles. And I'm like, oh, heck yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to say nothing. Let's jump down it. Let's dive down there. We ain't got much light left. It's not raining right now. Let's jump down there. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to do a cow call and see if he shows up.
Okay.
So we go down there and I try to set up, but the wind's like kind of iffy. I'm like, crap. So we move over and I do one cow call and I could hear his antlers smacking a tree. I'm like, he's coming. So that bull walks out broadside at 30 yards and he shoots him. And I don't know if he passed through him. Yeah, he passed through. It was a pass through, but we couldn't find his arrow. That's what it was.
Okay. Got it.
30-yard shot, big 5x5 bull. Not big, but nice 5x5 bull. And we're tracking blood, right? It starts raining right after he shoots.
God.
I told him, I was like, we have to get on the blood now. Like, we have to track now. So we're tracking for like, the next hour, and then we're in the dark in grizzly country with our hands.
What does the blood look like? Is it like foamy? Is it real dark?
There's
no
like
blood.
A couple drops of blood, and it looked like heart blood to me. It was like heart blood.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, so I thought he went one way, but then I was like looking at this trail, and I was like, I think he might have took this main trail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, I thought he went this way because I could hear him coughing, but then that trail. So we kind of gridded this way, and it got dark. So I was like, let's come back tomorrow. And the whole time he's like, I shot him good. I was like, dude, I seen it. Like, you shot him good. The blood's good. He's going to be dead.
Yeah.
The whole time I had to like have an emotional talk with him on the way. We had a 3-mile hike out in the dark in grizzly country. So I'm like, bro, let me tell you, stop worrying about it. Let's focus on getting out of here alive.
Yep. As
we're in grizzly country, it's just me and you, right? Let's just, let's handle this and we'll figure it out when we get back. But I know for sure you smoked him. So we ended up going back in the next day, and we had another guide with us that didn't have a client. He's like, I'll go with you guys. So he ended up going with us. Thank God he did. So I, as a solo hunter, forgot my inReach in the UTV.
Okay.
Well, luckily, the guide had one, right?
Yeah.
Well, we get up on the mountain. His ain't working.
Oh, God.
So we have no communication with our pack team because we have pack mules. We have people on standby. I was like, stay on standby. We're going to need 4 guys. We got a 4-mile pack out. So we ended up hiking in and we grid, and I found my first moose paddle, which I was stoked about.
Hey, that's sweet.
So we were looking for him, and then sure enough, we grid and we found him dead there. Probably, I think he went 120 yards.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No, it's not bad at all. So we ended up finding him. It was raining the whole day. It was miserably cold. We had one guy on standby with a revolver at all times because there's definitely a lot of grizzly sign in that canyon.
Okay.
Luckily, no encounters. Um, so yeah, we couldn't call our pack out team, so we deboned the whole elk head. Did we take the cape? He didn't take the cape. So everything, and we packed it out 4 miles, the three of us.
Ugh, that's crazy.
The whole elk too. Like I don't mess around. I take trim. I take flank. Flat meat, all that stuff.
Ribs, rib meat, all that.
I thought I was gonna die, dude.
Yeah.
It was brutal. But like, I love to be in pain like that because like the week after, it's like I did that,
Yeah.
But the whole time, like the guys were kind of cussing me, like, bro, you forgot the in reach. I'm like, man, like we got this,
Yeah.
We didn't have it. We had to take so many breaks. Yeah, so man, we ended up making it back to the lodge, and everybody was like super happy. And the guy I was guiding, he's been hunting for 15 years, like I said, and he said that was the best elk experience I've ever had in 15 years. He said I never heard that many bulls bugle. He's like, I've never had that many encounters. He's like, I mostly shoot them with a rifle. So he was like so emotional. He's like, that's the best time I've ever had in the woods. And
that's awesome.
And it was just the guy in the lodge I was just kind of hanging out with,
Yeah.
Luckily, that guy actually owns IRT fishing reels.
Okay.
So he owns that. And then he also owns a company where they buy land, turning it into hunting properties with food plots, and then sells it as hunting land.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, Montana, that was like the super cool story. So I was super successful in my first season.
You going to go back next year?
Yeah. So they invited me. They said I could stay. They said, just knock on the door. I'm welcome. I could stay as long as I want. I have a couple other offers I have one from Arizona and one from New Mexico.
Okay.
But man, that Montana gig was nice. Like I can't even tell the outfitter because I don't want nobody to go in there. And take my spot. Like, we had a professional chef. I had my own room. I had a UTV to take. I had a different truck to take, so I didn't have to take my truck.
Yeah.
All the gas was paid. Like it was super.
That's awesome.
I mean, all the people were like so cool. So yeah, even all my offers, I still don't think they're going to be able to beat that Montana gig.
Yeah.
So
that's cool, man.
Stay through the rifle season if I want, all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Looking to go back, man. I gotta get some experience under my belt.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're an elk hunter. Who knew?
All of a sudden, so now I'm like, I've been applying for like rifle elk, and I'm now applying for archery elk because I'm like, it's way easier, dude. Archery elk hunting is easier than these Sonora mule deer we're chasing down here with our bows. Like,
you say that, but maybe I think you got a natural talent for this, man. Archery elk hunting has I think a 5% to 10% success rate, like across the board. So it ain't that easy. It may be easy for you, Matt, but not most of us.
I know it's not easy, but when I go like shed hunting and stuff during rifle season, I could see the disconnect between them talking and not talking.
Yeah, so for sure.
If I can get an archery tag during the rut, obviously that's why I want to hunt that tag,
Yeah. Calling is fun. I've had one season that was just epic calling. Just one point, I was with Jermaine Hodge, and I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a world elk calling champ. He called in 5 bulls in like under a 5-minute period. Like there were so many bulls that we couldn't shoot at them because we bust another one. It was just, it was crazy. They literally 3 of them piled up on each other because like one came charging in, stopped, saw us. The other 2 were right behind it, just piled up. It was, oh God, there's nothing like September elk hunting. Nothing like it.
Yeah, no, I want to do it every year. Like whether I just love watching people. Like I was just as emotional if I shot the elk as them. I was just as happy. And I was happy I was able to work hard like I want to do. But I was also happy to just get a 5-day easy payday. But
yeah, for sure, man.
I want to work hard.
Now, are you going to start saving up points and hunt that unit yourself sometime?
Yeah, so actually, they're gonna let me go through the outfitter draw because I work for them.
Oh, cool!
I get that little like extra like point system, I guess. I'm not too familiar with the point system.
I don't know anything about it, but that sounds nice. It sounds nice.
There's like 2 draws, an outfitter and then a regular one. If you're with an outfitter, you get higher point like percentage.
Okay.
Draw. But if you go regular, you get a lower percentage of draw odds.
Huh.
So they're going to let me go through them, and then I don't have to pay the fees because I'm guiding for them. So on my couple off days, or if I go a week earlier, then I can hunt elk by myself, or
Yeah.
maybe with like another guide, you know?
Yeah. While you're scouting, you can bring your bow.
Yeah, and this is no bragging rights. This is me just like emphasizing to take an opportunity.
Yep.
But I was the only guide successful in the archery season.
Interesting.
There was 4 other guides that were experienced, but I was the only one that was successful in the archery season.
Huh. Did they all have like like your guy that was 85 years old? Did they have guys that were similar in age that like just tough clients, or was it tough year, or were you just like fresh eyes, or what do you think was the difference maker?
Just like it was like everybody was just a tough season, but I had this one spot picked and I knew it was going to be like a gold.
Okay.
But yeah, they had some opportunities and just like couldn't make it happen. And whether it was like the bull just want to come in or anything like that. So I don't know exactly. I'm not experienced enough to know exactly their setups and stuff, but I know they had a couple opportunities, but some days the elk weren't bugling and they were bugling for us. So maybe I was in the right place at the right time, but
that's all there is to it.
Yeah. So I was happy to capitalize on that. And I guess I'm an elk guy now.
There you go. There you go. Cool, man. Well, you got any other stories, or is that kind of where your season wrapped up?
I got 2 more stories for you, man. So
hell yeah, let's keep going.
With that guy I met in Montana, he owns IRT Reels, which is a high-end fishing reel company, and he has his properties everywhere. He goes, "Hey, you want to hunt Sika deer in October?" And I was like, "So Sika is Sika, not Sitka, right?" So I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Heck yeah!" I'm like, "Where do we do that?" He goes, "Well, buy your Maryland stuff, get your Maryland license. I think it cost me under $200 for all the licenses. And in Maryland, they could shoot like 52 deer a year. Dude.
No shit.
Yeah, it's like so many Sika deer with a bow, so many with a rifle, so many with a muzzleloader, and then same for whitetails.
Okay, and Sika deer are smaller than whitetails, right?
Bro, they are tiny. They're so small.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And they kind of bugle like elk, though, don't they?
Yeah, they do. So it's cool. It's a cool experience. Like we're in this tall grass. It's marsh. It's just wet everywhere. We're in rain boots. I'm in blinds, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to target these elk looking deer, but they're like so tiny, right?
Yeah.
And it's a new state for me, a new type of hunting. I never hunted out of a tree stand or anything. I'm a spot and stock guy.
Yeah.
A new species. And again this like redneck blind, which is kind of like a homemade one. He's got them all over his property. Super well managed property. Like they're bugling everywhere.
That's cool.
I think that's what they call them. Yeah,
well, I know it sounds not too far off from a bugle if it was like a midget elk. So yeah, we'll just call it a bugle.
It's definitely cool because like midday, like you get in nothing, and all of a sudden they start sounding off. You're like, oh, here we go. Like it's just it's like elk hunting. But so I ended up having some does come in, and his blind was kind of turned the wrong way for the way the feeder was. So I drew my bow back, and it was like clunk into the wall.
Oh no!
So I couldn't like draw my bow, and then the feeder was too close. And it was just a Sika doe. So there was some fawns there. And then this big doe walks in and I was like, oh, okay. Like I could tell which one the difference is, right?
Yeah.
So I draw back and I could not get the angle out the window on it. So I ended up like trying to move and then my bow went off and it shot my arrow. I'm like, blood. It was brutal, but it was just like the setup. So he was hunting with me, but out of a tree stand.
Okay.
So he was able to shoot a doe that night.
Okay.
So, dude, I'm sitting there in this blind for like 3 days, and I'm looking at these deer, and I can't tell if it's mature or not because they're so small. Like they're the smallest little deer, and I was like, "Is that
what dog would you compare them to in size?"
Like a big lab.
Okay, that is pretty small for a deer, though.
They're small, like, and for me, like hunting these 350-pound mule deer in Arizona, these little tiny things. I'm looking at it, and I would pass it up because I was like, I don't want to shoot a little doe. Like, give me a mature doe, and I would get some videos of it, and I would send it to him. He's like, oh, that's a mature doe. I'm like, God dang it! Like, dude, I wanted to shoot one, you know?
Yeah.
So I only had like an encounter with one big. What do they call it? It's not a bull. It's a stag. They call them stags and hinds.
Okay.
So I actually had a stag come out, but he was like 90 yards, and it was like out of range. He just kept moving. You hear them walking before you see them in the grass. So you hear like the water splashing.
Okay.
So I had a chance at him. I had a chance at a couple other does, and I just kept passing them because I thought they were too small. We ended up jumping into some whitetail spots, and they just didn't come in. But we went fishing on the boat. I got to use his reels, and his reels were like high end stuff. So I'm helping him with some social media stuff for that. So we went on the Atlantic Ocean. We were fishing for some fish a little bit. We were crabbing right off his docks, catching blue crabs.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
We're eating blue crabs every night, fresh with some Old Bay. It was a great trip. I didn't end up harvesting, which I could have, but I just kept passing a lot. I just want to shoot them, you know.
Yeah. So he killed one. Did you get the opportunity to like taste the Sika deer or no?
Yeah. So he ended up shooting a couple does while we were there, out of the tree stand, and then the week after I left, the rut picked up a lot, so he ended up shooting that big. I think it was that big stag that I ended up seeing.
Okay.
90 yards. So he ended up shooting him the next week, but he ended up I was pretty mad about it. He's like, take this Sika home with you. I'm like, bro, I didn't shoot it. I don't want like a participation trophy. He's like, take it. The guy shoots like 60 deer a year.
Yeah. So I believe it.
Take it. And I was like, I got tired of arguing with him. I was like, I'll take it. And it's really good. I was kind of glad I took it. I was like, throw some crabs in there too, man. I want some blue.
Can you compare it to any other deer, or where would you stack rank it?
It's probably between deer and elk. Like it's better than deer. Yeah, it's a different type. It's more like elk.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like in between, but it's really delicious. Yeah. So I have a freezer full of that.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity, and luckily, that I was able to, I'll make $10,000 at the Hunt Expo, turn into a guiding gig. That guiding gig turned into a trip to Maryland for me.
Yeah.
We're hunting private land for free, and now he just shot some giants in Iowa, and he said next year I could go to Iowa with him on his farm in Iowa. And
damn. There you go. Iowa's got monsters, I hear.
Yeah, he shot a couple of decent ones with some kickers and stuff. And
that's awesome.
He's like, they're coal bucks. And I was like, oh, they ain't. I'll call that buck for sure. Like, I'm not passing it.
Yeah.
Like, dude, they were like 160 whitetails.
Damn, 160-inch whitetail. So is he looking to like get rid of the ones with like the kickers and the drop tines and those things, and he's just looking for real typical stuff, or what's his deal?
Trash, but he said that property he only considers it like a buck if it's 180-inch whitetail.
Jesus.
Yeah. Like,
Iowa.
Sign me up.
Yeah. Right.
So we're set up to. I'm going to guide him again in Montana, and then I'm going to go to Iowa with him next year. So yeah, it was a great trip. I mean, if anybody has opportunity to hunt Maryland, do it because it's super worth it.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, my last story is my deer hunt this year, and it's a pretty wild one.
Okay, let's go. I can't wait.
So man, it was California hunt, and what month was it? It was October. So right after getting back from Maryland, I jump out there. I hunted a little bit with my bow, man, but it just wasn't producing. Like Arizona's just going down, and we ended up finding some, dude, and I kind of had some social media stuff happen where like some people were talking bad about me on podcasts, and I was
sorry about that.
Not yet, but yeah, man, I was a little bummed out and just like not really into the season too much, and I was kind of like pushing around, and I just was like not really like I didn't have that drive this year. So my buddy hits me up, and I'm not usually taking anybody. I'm usually just preferring to solo hunt. So my buddy hits me up. He goes, "Hey man, like, can I jump out there with you a few days?" And I was like, "Of course you can. Like, come meet with me. Let's go have some, a good hunt if we can." So
yeah.
So he ended up showing up, and we hunted for like a couple days, and we seen a couple little bucks, just nothing real big for him, and he was set up on this spike. He was ready for me to say it was a forky, and he was going to put him down, But yeah, we just didn't see that much. Like nothing was really happening. So he ended up leaving. I stayed hunting a little bit, and I was just going to one of my glass and knobs where like the spot ended up shooting a buck there the year before. So I go this glass and knob, right? And I get to the part where I park, and do you know who Marlon Holden is?
I don't. The name somewhat rings a bell, but I'm not drawing anything.
Like Gray Light Hunter on Instagram.
Okay, I know that Gray Light Hunter. Yeah.
So he's a really successful hunter. I think he's got like 6 archery deer this year. Just 2024. So he ends up pulling to the same spot as me. And I was like, wow, like I've never seen anybody over here, and he gets some big deer where I hunt also,
Yeah.
So he's super cool, like a lot of people had told me, they're like, that guy's a jerk. And I was like, well, I've learned, like I learned last year that I'm only going to judge people if I judge them myself, right? Like let me get my opinion of them because, also there's this guy named James Visser from the Bow Disciples. Everybody's like, the guy's a prick. And I met him and the guy, nicest guy ever.
Yeah, I met James too. I've had him on the podcast. Awesome guy. Really fun.
Yeah.
Really fun guy to just talk with. Like we similar to you and me when we chat, outside of the podcast, I do it with James as well. And he's a great dude.
Yeah. And I love that guy now. And I was like, why would people say bad stuff about him? So I learned like get my own opinion. So he rolled up and I was like, oh, what's up, man? He's like super nice guy. And he's like, you going there? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, it looks like we're hunting together today. And I had a rifle and he only bow hunts.
Okay.
Like, yeah, let's go up there, So luckily I was hanging out with him and it was like getting my camaraderie up and like getting the mood, kind of changing like my mindset a little bit.
Hell yeah.
So we're up there glassing and he ends up leaving at about 10:30. He's like, oh, I got to go pick up my kid and drive. He drove 5 hours to go hunt for like the morning. I'm like, yeah, that's what it takes, like, so he tells me he spends like 200 days in the field hunting.
Damn. Yeah.
So luckily, that kind of fired me up a little bit. I'm like, yeah, let's, I was kind of like motivated. Like I, got out of my funk of just hunting by myself and just being kind of lazy in a sense, So I ended up, he leaves. I'm like, it's so windy. Nothing's moving. It's midday. I'm like, let me go just still hunt some of these, junipers. So I get down there and I'm on this little, like, I don't know, it's about a 50-foot knob. And I could see this coyote out there kind of like digging for like some rodents maybe. And I don't hunt coyotes. I haven't shot one in probably 6 years, but I've always wanted to get one with my handgun. And so I had a handgun with me. Guy hunts solo, so I'm carrying a handgun. Episode 62, I almost got killed.
Yep.
So I carry a handgun at all times, not when I bow hunt, because that's illegal. But so I was carrying this handgun. I'm like, let me try to sneak up on this coyote. So I snuck up to this coyote at 5 yards and was able to put down a coyote with my handgun at 5
shit.
Yeah. So that was right after, my buddy had left. Marlon had left and I was, feeling a little better. So I ended up getting my first coyote with a handgun. That's always something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I ended up working back to my vehicle. No luck really looking for bucks. And I decide to go the next morning, climb the same glassing knob. I'm like, let me see what happens, A little cold front's kind of coming in. And me and Marlon are like, any minute, man, they're going to start working themselves up. So
yeah.
It was my last day to hunt because I was going to Glamis to work for Clean Freak, that the natural body wipe company, big in the hunting world.
Okay.
So I had 1 day to hunt. I told myself I'm going to hunt till 11. So I'm glassing on this knob, and Marlon had said he usually sees the bucks on the right. I usually see them on the left. So I'm glassing the left. I'm not seeing nothing. I glass over to where Marlon said he was seeing, and all of a sudden, the wind stops. The sun like peers out of the clouds and I could just see this reflection of this antler. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. Little moment of zen, man.
So the buck I ended up shooting is just standing there with a doe. And I'm like, yes, finally a buck. Like, just give me the opportunity. Right.
Yeah.
So he ends up going and bedding down in like this sagebrush flat. And I could kind of see him on these rolling hills. So I sneak up probably 300 yards closer, and I still have maybe 100-foot elevation gain on him. And I'm kind of looking for him, and finally I could catch his head just bedded there. But I was having like a hard time ranging him because it was a hill, a valley, and then him. So I was kind of picking up the hill, picking up him, and then picking up behind. So I kind of worked it up that he was 380 yards. Well, he finally stands up, right? And it's just slow motion. I got my gun set up prone. My gun's all level. I have him set up 380. He stands there. He's looking at his doe, broadside. I'm like, perfect. And I squeeze off my new 300 Win mag that I designed for bear hunting that I wanted to shoot something with, right? Squeeze that off. This cannon. I swear all these birds flew up. It's and I still was able to see him in the scope. And he like takes a step and I was like, oh, I hit him. Right? Because he did this like weird little step.
Yeah.
Oh, I hit him so hard, right? So I'm like, he's still standing. I'm going to put another one in him. So I rack another one. Get all set up. Just I told within 5 miles where I was. Told everybody. So then I look on the side of the scope and I see my bullet hit the dirt like 10 feet away. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, dude, I'm not even close. So I'm like, oh crap, like, and I took this gun to Arizona on that bear hunt and I must have bumped it because this gun is dialed to 700.
Yeah.
I just went to 700 dialed. So I must have bumped it.
Jeez.
I dial it.
So you're missing left, right. You're not missing up, down.
No, up to down's good, right?
Okay.
The doe that he was with is still feeding. He is still on his doe. Doesn't even care. I'm ripping bullets by this guy. I mean, they're like 10 feet away.
Yeah.
So I dial like left, like what's 10 feet on my mills, I did like Alex. So I'm like, oh, this is it. He's set up. She's feeding. He's still standing there. Shoot another one. Missed again, but I'm like closer, right? Bloody hell. So I did the math again. I'm like, oh, if I did that, and I'm like, I hate to like, spray and pray these things.
The MOA, trying to figure it out in the field while the deers might be walking away. Yeah. God.
Boom! Shoot another one, right? I'm like, bloody hell, I miss, right? I run out of ammo. Because I'm like,
yeah.
And they don't even care. They're still feeding. At 380 yards, they don't care. Like they didn't no care. So I'm usually the guy, I'm like, if I miss a couple times, like they're gone, right?
Yeah.
So he ends up coming to 200 yards and they go in bed. So I'm like, oh crap, like what am I gonna do? I'm out of ammo. My truck is 2 miles away.
Yeah.
So what I did is I set my gun up and I bore sighted it at 300 yards on this rock, and it was like still off. So I corrected it and I go, I got to get into bow range. Like that's where I'm good, like archery hunting, So I run back. So he ends up bedding, and I mark it on my. He ends up moving out to like 300. I mark it on my GPS. I'm like, he's behind this bush. So I run back to my truck. I get more ammo. I drive up the road to get the wind a little better, and I come in on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not giving up on this. Like, I'm not giving up until the fat lady sings. So I was like, I have to get in bow range because my gun's like obviously so far off that I want to get close to where it's perfect, So I ended up feeding in, and I had it perfectly marked. I'm looking at where I was glassing from, and I'm not really like thinking I was in the right spot. I'm like, I think I need to be 100 yards this way. So I kind of marked the wrong spot on my Onyx.
Jeez. I'm
like, let me still hunt this way. So I start still hunting over. Boom. I see a doe standing there behind this tree. She's just standing there. So I kind of got this cactus in front of me. So I kind of just kneel down and I'm just patient. She's just standing there. She's kind of kicking her feet a little bit, like stomping a little bit. Like, hey, I don't like that,
Yeah.
And I know that buck is on the right-hand side of her because that's where he bedded. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to chill. Just going to be patient. But she's probably going to feed forward because usually when you see a deer stand, they're going to feed forward, right?
Yeah.
They're going to feed forward a little bit. So she feeds forward. And I see her just walking. I'm like, that buck's going to go. So I'm sitting there on one knee. 80 yards, brother. 80 yards from these deer.
Yeah.
He walks out, stops, looks at me, and I dumped him with a 300 Win Mag at 80 yards. And dumped him dead.
Yeah.
And I was so happy. I was like, man, I didn't give up. The plan went to crap real good, but I was able to, kind of jump in there and like make it happen still. And it was, my biggest buck to date. Ended up.
That's awesome, man.
This year, yeah, man.
That's amazing. I can't believe you ran like 4 miles to get around just to get another shot in him.
Yeah,
2 miles each way. That's crazy.
I ended up packing him out by myself. A couple buddies ended up wanting to come to help me, and I was like, I got this by myself. So I ended up making 2 more trips, and it was like a 10-mile day. Couple miles with him on my pack. I made 2 trips with him. He was very heavy. I ended up producing 84 pounds of meat.
Damn.
Him, and I gave him to the butcher at 99 pounds.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was my success this year, man. Those are my hunting stories. I think let me check my notes, but I think that's pretty much it, man. It was a wild season. The only other thing I did that was really fun I want to mention to people is go bow fishing for carp.
Oh yeah?
Because I went with the catch and release camo guys in Idaho this year, and it's like just like javelina hunting. Floating down the Snake River at night with some lights on, bow fishing. I highly recommend it. If you get a chance to do it, do it. It's so much fun.
I still have my like old bow, and I've been thinking about just attaching like all that fishing reel thing to it. I know I have my wife worked with someone who has a contact with those guys, so I'm thinking about trying to get one put on there, but I don't even know where to start with that. But I think that would be so much fun. I can't imagine having more fun than bow hunting for fish. No, I know that you're supposed to aim like 6 inches high or low to the refraction of the light, and they're not actually where you see them. How hard was it to get your first fish?
It took a while, man. I think I ended up getting 9 out of our 27, and I think I shot maybe 50 or 60 times.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Not a success rate, because like the farther they are, the lower you have to shoot.
Okay.
But then I was shooting some at like 1 foot off the boat, because we would like drift across them, and I would shoot ones like straight down. Obviously, those are easy ones, but when they start getting out there, it's like, But yeah, it was a blast, man. Luckily, the catch release camo guys paid for me to go, so it was a guided deal. He had he had all the equipment. I just kind of showed up and just slayed some carp, man. But I highly recommend people do that. It's so much fun with your buddies, man.
That's awesome.
I was Googling like, how do I buy a bow fishing boat? Like, what kind of
just sold. Just completely sold.
It's so much fun.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks first off for just reaching out. Obviously to come back on the podcast. It's always fun having you, man. Let's do this. Why don't you tell the people that haven't heard your episode 62 already? Where can they find you? Where do you want people to follow you, etc.?
Yeah, so I love to help anybody out in hunting world, or like talk spots, talk anything. So anybody, please hit me up. I love just chatting hunting. All my ex-girlfriends hated it, but I'll talk to hunting about anybody. So hit me up on Instagram, or just my name. It's Mattrege. There's no dots, no underscores, anything like that. Or just put it in Google, and some of my like movie stuff will pop up. Like I said in episode 62, if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to me almost getting killed. And then we always invite people on like to our movie sets and stuff. So if you guys are local to California, or if we're filming somewhere local, like stay following me, because we have some opportunities coming up that you guys may want to get in, and maybe I could hunt with you guys one day.
Hell yeah! Hopefully, Matt, we get to. You're gonna have to take me javelina hunting, man.
Dude, let's go, man.
It's a date.
You're javelina, dude. I'm gonna take you out.
There we go, brother. All right, man. Well, thanks again. I appreciate you. Now we'll let you get back to your evening, and guys, make sure you follow Matt.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, brother. All right, guys, that's it. Another couple stories in the books. Again, Matt, thank you so much for reaching out, man. It was a pleasure to catch up with you. We have stayed in contact, but there's nothing like, arguably face-to-face here. We're doing it over kind of a Zoom call, but there's nothing like catching up with some good buddies. So thank you, man. Your stories are amazing. At least no one shot at you this time, so that's good. But guys, please do follow him on his socials. He's doing some cool stuff. He's a great hunter, despite being relatively new at it, and he's a really fun guy to follow. So thank you again, Matt. Appreciate you. Listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. Please share the podcast with at least one person today. Beyond that, give us a 5-star review. Follow us on whatever app you're listening to, and get out there and make some stories of your own. Thank you.